bench today. We've got Matt Wixon in the studio. We're going to be talking MLB playoffs. We've got an NBA preview, some teams to watch. And first, we're going to start off with the Mavs review. Unfortunately, a loss in Game 1.
Yeah, they're now 1 of 82, one loss. Now 81 to go. What the Mavs are really looking for is to see how Dennis Smith Jr. did in his debut. He decided to dunk the first couple times he went up. His first one was an alley-oop from Wes Matthews, who, by the way, had a horrible game, like you predicted. He's not going to be very good trade bait if he can't score the ball.
We need him to play as many minutes to get as many points and assists as possible so that we can actually trade him. Because, yeah, you're right. After last year and obviously after this first game, his trade value is not very high, unfortunately.
No, and I would trade him for peanuts right now just to get rid of his contract. But I think Dennis Smith Jr. proved that he has the athletic ability to lead this team. He showed a couple really flashy moves when he went to the basket. He had, I think, a little bit of his nerves got to him because he decided 2 or 3 times to go at dunks when there were no dunks there. You viewed one of them.
Yeah,
he went up against 2 forwards.
And these veterans are not going to let him just dunk all over them. They're going to foul him. They're going to put him on the ground if he's going to try and dunk all over everybody. That could be a concern going through the season to see if, he learns. Does he sustain injuries from attacking the basket too much?
What people don't realize is they're enamored by his 48-inch vertical. The problem is that means he's 48 inches off the ground, and if he gets bumped and comes down, he's falling 48 inches. With Dirk Nowitzki and some of these other guys that are considered high flyers, they're 7 foot almost. So they're flying, and they're maybe going 32 inches off the ground because they've got that much more arm. They make up for that distance in arm length and height.
I'm sorry, did you just put Dirk Nowitzki and high flyers together?
No, Blake Griffin,
okay,
DeAndre Jordan, the Greek Freak, all these guys, Aaron or AD, Anthony Davis. These guys are all high-flying forwards, and if they get knocked, they're not falling that far until their feet touch the ground again. You saw that it was awkward. He had to come off the court a little bit because he seemed to have hurt his hip coming down. We just need to be concerned because, like I said before when we were talking about buyer's remorse or drafter's remorse, someone like Lauri Markkanen is going to have more of a steady career because his game isn't predicated on athletics.
Yeah.
Dennis Smith Jr.'s whole entire game is predicated off athletics. And Dwayne Price said, well, he's a shooter. Yeah, he's a 6'2" shooter, which means he has to get 20 inches off the ground to be able to shoot over somebody. That's the issue we're running into. And that is a bit of a fear, is that do you think he could last the 82 games the way he plays? If he plays that physical, don't care.
I think we're going to they wanted to bring him out and showcase him last night, and they did that. They ran plays early on for him to showcase his athleticism. Obviously, the first alley-oop dunk, that's a Rick Carlisle play.
Yes, it was.
So they're going to do that. Now, do they start taking up some of those minutes? Because, look, this team isn't going to win a lot of games, and you definitely want to manage his minutes as well to make sure that, yes, he's running the system, but he's also not going out there and blowing himself out in the first 30 games of the season. Once he gets Seth Curry back, that'll help a lot. But getting JJ and Devin Harris out there, and they did it last night to a certain degree, but I would expect them to do it even more going forward, especially as JJ starts getting back in the groove. Because you don't want to overwork him.
No, their bodies aren't built right now to go 82 games.
Especially when we're not expected to make the playoffs. I would be very surprised if this team makes the playoffs. And even if we make the playoffs, there's no expectation they would be able to make a deep run. So why not manage this guy's minutes? Let him play. Let him, work under Carlisle's system, but make sure that we're not overworking him, not having him go out there and try and throw down 20 dunks every night.
No, and our other 2 stars, the 2 guys that we relied on last year to really drive this team, struggled yesterday. Dirk went 3 of 14, and Harrison went basically 4 for 14. They did not have good shooting nights, and it really shows that even though Dennis Smith Jr. is this explosive young athlete that has all the potential in the world, he is not going to be someone who could do it alone. So let's really.
But also, him going to the basket created some problems actually because they're not used to a guy who's just constantly going to the basket. You get Harrison Barnes then floating out near the three-point line, Dirk floating out near the three-point line. Look at the three-point numbers. They shot way too many three-pointers.
Yes.
More than half the shots in the game were three-pointers. They can't do that and survive in this league.
They can stay closer to the basket, get that a last-minute pass, and be able to make a short jump shot or even a rebound or a pass dunk when everybody else moves out of the way. But I really think we need to come to grips with what this team's going to be this year. Like you said, they're not going to. I don't expect them to win anything. I don't expect them to make the playoffs. Dwayne expects them to make the playoffs, and I said if they make the playoffs, they're just going to get destroyed. I think we should accept what they are. This is going to be an entertaining season, and I think we should enjoy that.
Yeah.
We should enjoy the fact that this is going to be high-flying, high-dunking, shooting, good shots, sharp shooting, all that stuff mixed into one. Our team...
Except with zero defense because, I mean, if they can't play defense against the Hawks, which last night, 51% shooting for the Hawks, and they're a terrible team. Terrible team. What are they going to do against the Golden State? What are they going to do against the Rockets? What are they going to do against the San Antonio? I mean, those games could get out of hand quickly.
Yeah, and we do, when we're on fire, we do have probably the most balanced offense in the league when it comes to we can shoot the three, we can shoot the two, we can dunk, and we can lay up. A lot of these other teams are either one or the other. They're a sharpshooting team where they shoot most of like San Antonio is more of a grounded in the inside. Then you've got Houston, who's more of an outside shooter. You've got Lob City, obviously, and we don't know what they're going to be this year without CP3, but they used to be just a lob and three-point shooting team. We really have everything we are good at everything, not masters of anything.
Yes.
And I think we need to enjoy that. The problem I have is that now they're starting to restrict Dirk's minutes, which is. Oh, okay, it's his 20th year. You obviously you do that. But
what did I say? I would be surprised if you got to 25 minutes last night. 24 minutes. I was right on the money.
So I think we need to be sure we're not wasting
and
his
it seemed
minutes.
like they did waste his minutes a little bit. And part of that was trying to get Dennis Smith Jr. going and highlighting him. But if you're highlighting him, you're losing. I know.
Because he only has so many minutes in those legs. And he's coming to the end. If he's going to be on the court, get him the ball. Run the offense. The most successful period in the Mavericks history, even near the end of last season and the season before, was when the offense went through Dirk. And the defenses had to overcompensate for Dirk because he was shooting all those fadeaway jumpers or the three-point shots. So it was opening it up for everybody else. You remember how great the offense was 2 or 3 years ago before Rondo came in?
Yeah.
We were the highest scoring offense in NBA history for the first 30 or 40 games. They said if this pace keeps up, it'll be unprecedented. My problem is they need to do that again because Dirk is not going to ball hog it. If someone else is open, he'll pass it. But that ball needs to go through Dirk. And I know they're starting to say, hey, this is the end of an era. We need to start getting these young guys in.
If that's the case, then he should be the sixth man coming off the bench playing 20 minutes a game.
Why make a stretch five if you're not going to use it?
Exactly.
Because now the centers are staying in more because they're not going to go out and cover him because he's not getting the ball.
Well, you see a defense anchored by Dirk is not going to play well.
No.
51% shooting and offensive rebounds, 14 offensive rebounds for the Hawks. It's just not going to get it done. You can't give up that many second chance shots to a team that's not any good. They're going to make shots eventually.
And with Seth Curry injured, why not revert back to a more normal lineup? Why not have Noel at center, Dirk at 4, Harrison at 3, Wesley Matthews at the 2, and Dennis Smith Jr. at the 1, or put Yogi in at the shooting guard position?
Yeah.
I don't care. But the fact that they're trying to run basically two small guards, and then they have a smaller lineup around, you're exactly right. It'll be different if Dirk gets the playoff and they have Noel at the center. It makes it a totally different team.
And I'm sorry, but nobody's scared about going into the paint when Dirk is the center in there trying to block shots.
Flat-footed, and it's not his fault. He's not an agile guy.
It puts him in a terrible position defensively. Offensively, I see how it makes sense because they want to spread out the court, let Dennis Smith Jr. drive to the basket, let Harrison Barnes drive to the basket. and take shots with Wesley Matthews and Dirk on the outside. But the way it worked last night isn't going to win games for this team.
The age of Dirk being able to juke anybody, even on offense, is gone. So the fact that they're now letting centers go out on him is all great and good back when he could get around them. But now, instead of facing guys who are 6'10 and maybe 6'10 and under, now he's facing guys who are 7'1" on the outside that he has to shoot over.
Yeah.
And it's not helping him. Back when he'd be able to back him in and then turn and go to the basket, that's when that worked.
Yeah.
The fact that it doesn't matter if he's a stretch 5 right now because he can't do anything.
Yeah.
Allow Noel to come back in, allow him, because they have to honor him. He's a lob threat.
Yeah.
He will move those guys out more. Let Dirk go against guys that he's used to shooting over, who he can still shoot over.
Yeah.
And then again, let Harrison Barnes brutalize other small forwards.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Rick Carlisle is so in love with small ball. I don't understand why. We don't have the guards to do it.
Yeah.
All of our guards, other than Dennis Smith Jr., are under 6 foot. What are we doing?
Well, and it all started when Chandler left. After Tyson Chandler left, he decided we're going small ball. We're going to play Dirk at the 5. And I think he was so enamored with Tyson Chandler that he's finding it very hard to find another center that he's going to fall in love with.
Noel basically is a Tyson Chandler.
He's having a hard time falling in love with him for one reason or another. And I can see some things that Noel doesn't do well that Chandler does well. And it's basically the difference between a guy who's almost a rookie and a guy who had played 8 years in the league before he came over here. It's the guy who knows how to position his body, how to think ahead of the offense, of where he needs to be defensively.
He was the leader of the defense.
And being a leader on the defense, and Noel's just not there yet. That's going to take time. Maybe they're building on that. It looks like Noel's going to get more than 20 minutes a game probably. I think this is probably the lowest he'll get in the next 20 games as long as he's playing well. I'd be surprised if he doesn't end up becoming a player like that, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Why don't we go into teams to watch quickly, and then we have to move on to MLB.
So, obviously, the teams to watch for the NBA championship are the Celtics, Cavs, Golden State Warriors, San Antonio, and Houston. I think they're the only legitimate shots at the NBA Finals
76ers.
This year. No, but I do have the 76ers on my most interesting teams to watch, interesting and fun. So the Philadelphia 76ers being one of them. You get a young group of players. They're going to be fun.
Ben Simmons had a good quote.
Yes, that he found the NBA to be as easy as playing NBA 2K. That's a bit concerning. You don't want your best player coming out and saying that the league is easy game 1. Let's wait till it's game 20 before you say
after missing
that
2 seasons
playing NBA 2K. The Minnesota Timberwolves are also going to be a fun team to watch. They've got a young core. They just traded for Jimmy Butler with Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns. They're very similar to the way Sixers are built right now. So I think they're the Western Conference version of the 76ers. Also, Oklahoma City. Not that they're going to be fun to watch, but definitely interesting. We've talked about it before. Having those 3 players, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony on the same team is bizarre.
3 ball-centric players. They gave up basically their entire bench to get them.
And they get all 3 of those players get extremely frustrated when things are not going well. And when they have to share the ball with somebody
maturity
else.
is not a high priority for this team right now.
Not right now. Utah Jazz, I think, Utah and Milwaukee are the last 2 teams in the East Utah in the West, Milwaukee in the East. Utah bringing in Ricky Rubio. I think it's going to be a fun team to watch. He didn't really ever fit in Minnesota when they drafted 3 point guards.
It wasn't a team that really centered around passing.
No, and I think it's going to be a much better situation for him in Utah. It really makes sense if you think about how Utah organizes.
And he's
team
scoring
play.
better.
Yeah.
He is scoring
His 3-point shooting is phenomenally better. Milwaukee with the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's going to be phenomenal to watch
for the 3rd year.
In fact, I would just watch Milwaukee just to watch the Greek freak because it's incredible what he can do on the court.
He's a point forward that's basically going against centers half the time. We looked at some footage. He was going against.
He was dunking.
He was dunking on
straight
centers.
Up on centers.
And it's unbelievable. But I think what the story with Milwaukee isn't just the Greek freak. It's that, and no one's talking about it. Jason Kidd,
yes.
a Hall of Fame point guard, goes from playing for the Mavericks to the next year coaching the Milwaukee Bucks, and he ends up doing an amazing job at it.
Everybody's been very pleasantly surprised. I think
he's an unbelievably smart player.
Inside the NBA, people would not be surprised that he's done well as a coach because, yes, a lot of people thought he was one of the most intelligent players in the NBA when he was playing. But players don't always become good coaches.
No.
But so far, so good for him. And I think the fact that he's been able to bring in a lot of depth. He's got Jabari Parker, who's going to be coming back in January, February. Brought in Thon Maker, Sterling Brown, SMU player.
Thon Maker's got some weight to put on.
There's some great young talent there, and he's getting them playing basketball very similar to the way Utah plays basketball.
So I think there's also a list that we need to look at a little bit, and I am throwing the curveball at you, that there are teams that you don't want to watch anymore. And I think one of them might be the LA Clippers.
Yeah, without CP3.
Yeah, but you know what?
Teodosic might be the only reason to watch that team.
I am interested in him just for the fact of what I saw him do to the U.S. national team with this passing.
But that means you don't want to watch LA Clipper games. You want to watch Teodosic's highlights from the night.
Yes. So I won't watch the games.
Just look up Teodosic's highlights from the Clippers game the night before.
Then there's the Suns. The Suns, Booker is not so far this season showing the same flashes he did last year.
He'll be fine, but honestly, as a team, they're just not very interesting. They've got some parts there that could work, but they seem like the last 2 or 3 years, they're a team that have a bunch of parts that will go and play better somewhere else.
They have no system.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They have no system. Now, the last one we really need to worry about not watching. So if you see them on the list of on your TV guide, just keep moving. And that's the Orlando Magic.
Man, what a disaster
that is a garbage team right now. Especially with the guy with the hat hair.
No, yes. Oh, their point guard. His name is escaping me at the moment, but
it's bad.
They're in the same position as the Suns.
Since Gundy left.
They had a good team underneath a great coach and a great organization, and then all of that quickly fell apart, and it's taking them a lot of time to rebuild.
Remember, I would really, and I don't know if it's completely fair, but if you really think about the linchpin of this destruction of the Orlando Magic has been Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard complained and moaned and groaned about Gundy, got him fired, and then he left.
Yeah. And
if you're going to get your coach fired, at least stay.
And now he's cursed with being in Charlotte, which is probably another team you don't necessarily want to watch. When we get back, we're going to be talking NFL power rankings. We're going to have an MLB review. And then lastly, we'll be with Matt Wixon.
We're so excited to invite you to our Stacy Furniture Anniversary Sale.
Save today on Stacy's outstanding selection, up to 50% off select items throughout the store.
Now's the time to buy that new bedroom, living room, or dining room suit. You can't beat these prices anywhere.
Name brands like Bernhard, Hooker, Universal, and Sherrill, all on sale today.
It's Stacy's Anniversary Sale only happens once a year.
Shop Stacy's today or visit us online at stacyfurniture.com.
Remember, when you're shopping at Stacy's, you're shopping with family.
Back with NFL Power Rankings. Right now, in fact, our Thursday night game involves my number one team and a lot of people's number one teams still, even though they lost last week. It's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City has, even though they stumbled last game, they are far and above the most balanced team.
Bizarre game, by the way, at Pittsburgh against Pittsburgh, and at home, losing to Pittsburgh at home. But Pittsburgh is a team that everybody expects to be on the rise.
Yeah, and the other complete opposite side of the spectrum is how the LA Raiders are playing. I mean, not LA.
Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, Oakland Raiders. Sorry,
they're going to be Las Vegas.
But they're going to.
Maybe that would be bizarre though to have 3 teams.
They're going
in
to
LA.
Las Vegas.
Las
next.
Vegas.
Sorry.
The LV
They knew
Raiders.
they were on. LA has all the teams. Why not just add another one? But they were supposed to come in. They had an explosive passing offense last year.
Yeah.
Bringing in beast mode, Marshawn Lynch made us think that maybe there was a chance that they would have a punishing
a much more
game.
Balanced offense, I think.
And for some reason, this team has fallen apart. Even when Carr was in the game.
Yeah, even when Carr was playing, they weren't nearly as good. Their defense was still good.
First game
was good, but the Derek Carr injuries definitely set them back. He's back, but
how back is he?
Yes, how back is he? With an injured back. Exactly, pun intended. They're going to still be a decent team. Are they going to be as good as a lot of people expected them to make that jump this year? I don't know now. I mean, after this,
they're not going to lead this division.
No.
They're in the same division as the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not going to be able to pull that off.
And the Broncos, even after last week's game, with their defense, it's going to be tough.
It's 1 and 2. You know, Kansas City, Denver, Oakland is a distant
third, and then San Diego's like a really, really distant fourth.
Yeah, they don't even have a home right now.
Okay, number 2 for me is the Eagles. They had a fantastic win last Thursday night against the Panthers. I mean, a really unbelievable win for them.
Are you going to start agreeing with me now? Wentz is for real?
Yes.
Wentz is by far the best quarterback in the NFC East. By far. Way better than Dak. Probably better than Cousins.
I'm still going to go early. I want to see 4 more games, but I'm more...
How many games is his third year?
I'm moving more towards you on this one.
Okay.
I'm moving more towards you. I'm starting to really agree with you. I think
you know what it's really showing? It's
his
showing
talent is there.
Yeah, but
sure.
what it's really showing is he at North Dakota State ran a pro-style offense.
Yeah.
I formation, out of the shotgun, plus under center. You know, he made every throw. He had 2 national championships. Well, even though they're Division II, but they're still or Division 1A or B.
Yeah, whatever they call it. It is Division II.
They really showed that coming out of college, he was way more prepared than even a Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott came out of a team that probably ran the shotgun more than anything. You know, it's just a totally different offense. It probably wasn't Reed. The wide receivers ran, you know. It pretty much was that offense where you see all the players lining up and then they all go. And then they all look back because the coach is telling them what to do.
The Oregon offense.
That's what they have these big
signs. Exactly.
That's the problem is that, you know, these games now, the coaches are trying to scheme so much that they're not letting the players run.
They're over-scheming themselves.
Yeah, they're not letting the coaches, the players have any responsibility.
Yeah. So number 3, I got the Minnesota Vikings. I think... To me,
3?
The fact that they lose probably a top 3 running back in the league and
at 3?
Their quarterback, so they're with a backup running back and they're with a backup quarterback and they are still winning games. They're 4-2. And they won despite losing Bradford last week. He'll be back on the DL.
I think he's been hanging out.
He may be out for a while.
I think you've been hanging out in Denver too long. I think
now they did.
What's in the air has been affecting your mind because there's no way in hell that Vikings are above the Patriots. Regardless of the defense, the Patriots are a better team. Heck, even Denver's a better team than the Vikings.
Ooh. I don't know. I think the Vikings defense with an offense that can move the ball down the field.
They are the head of division. The only reason why I would give you that at 3.
They're going to win their division now, more than likely.
But the problem is it's a horrible division.
It's their division to lose, honestly.
So
now that Aaron Rodgers is out.
Where's the Lions on this whole thing?
I know.
You were so happy for like 2 or 3 weeks. I did it.
It's not gone so well.
Your fantasy league's been doing better.
No, fantasy league's been doing well. I'm happy with my fantasy team right now. Number 4, the Patriots. As you said, it's the defense.
It is the defense.
If the defense can be consistent, they certainly move above the Minnesota Vikings. But the defense is the reason I don't have them up. They did play well defensively against the Jets. Now, the Jets offense is still a huge question mark.
They have almost a 40-year-old quarterback playing, who's been a journeyman backup. I don't know. They're in a division where you can't really tell how good they are because you have the Jets, you have the Miami Dolphins, and you have the Buffalo Bills. 3 teams that are mediocre at best.
Right.
So
it's going to be.
It's like a team coming out of the Pac-12.
What's going to happen with the Patriots in that first round of the playoffs? I think that's what we're all going to...
I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yep. When the Patriots get to that first round of the playoffs, are they going to win? Are they not going to win? That's what it's going to come down to. Because right now, the rest of the season is...
My biggest issue is regardless.
For them.
I cannot, because I have been burned over and over again, and now it has been great. Sort of like, Big Brother, conspiracy, mind game sort of thing. I cannot go against Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. They always find a way.
I know.
Always, even when he is suspended 4 games, comes in rusty, they still win the Super Bowl.
The only way I can guarantee a New England Super Bowl is if I totally bet against them in the playoffs. They'll then not win. They will win a Super Bowl. If I bet for them, they won't win. That's how bad a gambler I am. So I had the Panthers at 5. Even though they lost to the Eagles last week, they still played well.
Played well?
They still played
Cam
well.
Newton had 3 interceptions. 3!
But their defense is good enough to keep them in games. And 2 of those interceptions were not his fault. They were receivers' faults. Now, if that continues through the rest of the season...
That's like saying Sam Darnold's interceptions are not his fault.
I may or may not have said that. I don't know what you're talking about. But the outside looking in, I've got the Steelers and the Broncos. So the Broncos, like you said, I mean, they're a good team. The problem is Trevor Siemian good? I don't know if we have an answer yet.
I see the Denver Broncos being sort of like now the defense is nowhere near as good.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
No, or the Ravens.
Yeah.
The defense is
Very
so
similar.
dominant compared to the offense.
Yeah.
The offense has good role players, wide receivers, offensive line, running back. The issue is they have basically a game manager like a Trent Dilfer at quarterback. Yes. He's manageable. He will get you some wins, but they cannot lean on him. But they have a good enough defense to lean on them. They just need to score points, whether they're field goals or touchdowns. It doesn't matter.
If they can get 20 points a game, I think they roll. They play well in the playoffs, and they got a shot at it.
They're a team that says, you get this many points, we're not losing.
But the problem is, if they can only manage 13, 14 points, I don't think they're going to, I mean, they'll still get into the playoffs, I think. But will they be able to win a playoff game? That would be a huge question to me.
You're going to have a harder record because they play the Chiefs twice. They play a lot of these teams in the AFC.
And if Oakland gets better, they're going to have to play Oakland. Yeah. And they playing against the NFC East. And none of those games are going to be easy for their defenses because you've got going against Wentz and going against Cousins. Those teams can score points.
Didn't even mention Dak.
Well, we'll see how the Cowboys do in the next couple of weeks, and maybe I'll mention Dak then. The Steelers, I think, are still a good football team. They struggled early. Ben Roethlisberger looked a lot better against the Chiefs, but still not perfect.
There's a lot of infighting on that team right now.
There's still a lot of work to do, but they have the pieces. If they get it together, they can get to the playoffs.
I haven't seen a team in the modern era, at least what I mean by modern era is the last 10 years, that the players have gone after the coach so many times in the media, coming out going, man, we're just not a well-coached team. Man, our game plan wasn't very good. You know, we really need to practice more. Man, we're playing too physical. Man, they are really taking shots at their coach.
Yeah, all their coaches, in fact.
All their coaches. So I don't see what's going on here. I almost think Ben Roethlisberger's been watching too many Cleveland games because he seems to be trying to pull a LeBron James to be able to say, hey, owner, I'm your star player. You need to make a change because I want to change. And it looks like Mike Tomlin is really on the chopping block for the players. Maybe not for the team, but for the players because they obviously do not like the coaching style that he has right now.
Yeah, and they need to lean on Le'Veon Bell. No matter what Roethlisberger says, Le'Veon Bell is he's a monster. He can carry them to the playoffs. And look, Roethlisberger's getting older. I'm sorry, he's old.
He's old.
He's just old.
When we get back, we'll be talking MLB and Matt Wixon and high school football in Frisco. Next.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Whew. Big games last night. LA versus Cubs. The Cubs get a win. They stay alive. They had to come out and play well. I'm not sure that they played well, but they played well enough to get the win. And it really came down to pitching for them because this game was about solo home runs.
Yeah, the Dodgers tried hard to come back. And they had two big solo home runs. I think that these two teams that are basically one seeds in these playoff series are really struggling because they thought they are having the same problem and the same mentality, at least maybe not anymore, but for the last couple games that the U.S. men's national team had, which is
Dominated at home.
Dominated at home. We're good. This is going to be in the bag. We're thinking World Series now.
Right.
And they have forgotten that these other teams, even though they might not be the favorite, are still in the playoffs.
Well,
this is a championship.
Not only that, but look at the venues they have to go play in. They're going and playing in Yankee Stadium, one of the hardest places to play, and they're going to play in Wrigley Field, which is one of the most difficult places to play. So it's not like they're going to Anaheim or they're going to Oakland or something like that where the fans don't show up and they're not loud and the ballpark is huge. These are tight, small ballparks where the fans are crazy and the fans really boost their teams. The Yankees showed it. They've won 3 straight at home. Okay? Aaron Judge finally shows up once they get home.
I've been holding this pun for a while. The Yankees for the last game and a half, 2 games have been judge, jury, and executioner.
Oh, gosh.
All rise for the judge.
But it was Tanaka who won that game last night for the Yankees.
Don't underestimate what Judge is doing. He's hit 2 home runs in 2
yes,
games.
and not only that, but he has been the boost that they've needed in those 2 games. So despite the fact that they've gotten great pitching, I agree with you. Judge in both games was the guy who got that first hit to get the Yankees rolling.
As soon as they hit that, the players took off their hats, turned them inside out, rally caps, because they went on rolls after that.
Yes, in both of these games, the Yankees really dominated the Astros pitching. Keuchel had been the anti what the Yankees needed.
You mean Yankee kryptonite?
Yes, the Yankee kryptonite. Thank you. And last night, it didn't feel that way.
No, it didn't.
They were hitting him. Judge got to him. They got to him late. They got him knocked out of the game in the 6th inning. And really, the Astros bullpen, they don't want to get to their bullpen. Their bullpen is not nearly as strong as the Yankees.
And you had a big problem with the Astros the last game on who they let pitch.
You've got to have Verlander go out there last night. This is a game you had to have on the road. Verlander's a big game pitcher. He's pitched in Yankee Stadium a ton, and he just won a game, and you didn't even have to use your bullpen. He had enough days rest. Let him go out there. There's no reason to put Keuchel out there, who is not nearly as experienced a pitcher, even though he's had a great year.
Save Keuchel for
a home game in a closeout game. It's just silliness. Why would you not go with Verlander?
I almost feel that games now have been changed by the Billy Bean thinking
They're overthinking the game.
Situational
calculating
baseball.
Everything out.
Oh, we've got a righty coming up. Let's put a left-handed pitcher in there. And that's when we get from, the old pitchers who would pitch a whole game.
Yeah.
To now, you get 12 pitchers in a game.
Well,
how do you get that?
It's because they go 5 or 6 innings.
There's only 9 innings in a game.
I know, but they're going 5 or 6 innings, and then this Billy Bean, money ball comes in and says, well, now the other team is coming up to bat for the 3rd time, and typically when the other team comes up for the 3rd time, their numbers significantly increase.
So you mean Billy Bean's over in the corner going,
yes, exactly.
Put a lefty in.
Yeah, and they go to their bullpen. And you see there are guys like Verlander, Kershaw, and Yu Darvish that can go out. They can give you 8 or 9 innings. Just let them do it. It's stupid to...
You're not going to get another chance. The Astros, this is the first time they've gotten this far in who knows how long, if ever.
Yeah.
On the cusp of a championship.
Well, back when they had Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens in the mid-2000s, but...
That was
a long time ago.
That was the Diamondbacks.
No. The Astros also had them.
Really?
Yes, at the same time.
But they both moved?
That was a long time ago. So, so they had to have Verlander out there last night, and obviously putting Dallas Keuchel out there, your number 1 pitcher the entire year.
He was their number 1 pitcher?
He was their number 1 pitcher all year. He's been great this year, but this was a game you needed Verlander in, and they didn't, and they lost, and now they're down 3-2. Now they have their backs against the wall. The Yankees now, in 2 straight series, have gone and lost the first 2 games on the road and then won 3 in a row. And, they've got a huge amount of momentum now behind them.
And as much as we're moaning and groaning, let's be honest, you could not have asked for a more exciting postseason for baseball. As much as the last 2 or 3 years have been ungodly slow.
Yes.
The fact that everybody's complaining, these games are too long, these seasons are too long. This makes it all okay.
Yes, we're getting all the young, great players. We're getting the Astros, who have a very young, talented team.
More drama than a Desperate Housewife episode.
The Yankees, who are a young and talented team. The Dodgers, who are a young and talented team. And the Cubs, who are a young and talented team. All the old teams
and they do those silly singing things during the seventh inning stretch.
These young players, there's a lot more energy in the games. You got Yasiel Puig, Clayton Kershaw. You've got Dallas Keuchel. You've got Altuve, Correa. You've got Aaron Judge.
You know what? I do think, it now just sort of came to me.
Chris Bryant.
I do think that might be one of the reasons why the games feel so slow recently, for the last 5 or 6 years, is this bringing out 3, 4, 5 pitchers.
Yeah.
When it's one pitcher, the games seem to go faster. When it's another pitcher and they've got to stop the game to bring in someone else to do all this, and even if it doesn't slow the game down, it feels like it.
That's why watching the Verlander 9-inning pitch game and where he is just in the groove.
Well, because what happens is whether you see it or not, after 6 innings, everybody who's watching the game's mindset is going, he's got to be tired.
Yeah.
He's going to mess up, right? He's going to mess up. And then they sit another inning.
But that
like 120 pitches. You're like, oh my God.
That is why you bring in Verlander for the postseason.
Yeah, that's why you have pitchers go long into games, because it brings the drama out. And then the closers, the biggest, best games we've ever seen when it comes to pitching were the 90s and early 2000 Yankees.
And Jansen for the Dodgers.
And what they do is they would hold it out until the end, and then Sandman would come out.
Yes, exactly.
And if Sandman came out, they knew it was over.
Yeah.
Rivera would change the way the game went, and they just needed to get there. And they didn't use 12 pitchers to do it. They used one, and maybe 2 if that one was just having a horrible game.
Yeah.
But coming up next, we've got Matt Wixon, and leading up till tomorrow, we've got more NBA, and we'll have a post-game review of Thursday Night Football.
We're so excited to invite you to our Stacy Furniture Anniversary Sale.
Save today on Stacy's outstanding selection, up to 50% off select items throughout the store.
Now's the time to buy that new bedroom, living room, or dining room suit. You can't beat these prices anywhere.
Name brands like Bernhard, Hooker, Universal, and Sherrill, all on sale today.
It's Stacy's Anniversary Sale only happens once a year.
Shop Stacy's today or visit us online at stacyfurniture.com.
Remember, when you're shopping at Stacy's, you're shopping with family.
This is Off the Bench. I'm Jim Stewart here with Matt Wixon, going over this district games coming up. We have Lone Star versus Wakeland. This was supposed to be considered a big game. What has changed so far this season?
Well, it's still a big game, but you're right. Before the season started, we thought this was probably the game that would decide the district championship. I believe Lone Star and Wakeland were the top 2 teams in the district, but now we're 3 games into district, and Wakeland has lost twice. And they've lost to Reedy, which has proven to be a very good team. They're undefeated. And Frisco Centennial was the other loss for Wakeland, which is not necessarily a bad loss, but it was a surprising loss. That was the overtime loss just last week. So now the stakes have changed a little bit. Lone Star is certainly, wants to win this game, but it's not a game they have to win for the playoffs. And for Wakeland, it's not a must-win. I think that they could go to 1-3 in district and still run the table and make it probably. But this is
so they base it off of wins at that point.
Yes. If you get to 4-3 in district, they'll probably get in because of tiebreakers, because of the teams they beat. But 5-2, you're definitely getting in. And I think it's twofold for Wakeland this week. It's number one, it's a little bit of a pride game. They've lost 2 in a row. They're kind of like, well, we want to prove that we're still one of these upper echelon teams. And a victory would also put them in much better playoff position. And Lone Star, it's just stay the course. They've been so dominant, they want to keep it going.
So just looking a little bit further with Lone Star, what do you see the playoffs unfolding for them? Do you think they'll go far and possibly go to a championship, or is it something that they're dominant within the Frisco district, but will struggle a little bit when they go and play other teams, other great teams from other districts?
Well, I think the way they look right now, they look a lot more like their team from 2 years ago, which was a state runner-up, which they would love to get back to a state championship game. Last year they were an excellent team again, but they weren't able to go as far in the playoffs. I don't think they were as as physically able up front last year as they were 2 years ago, and I think this year's team physically is a little bit more like that team from 2 years ago because they can stop the run, and that's a huge thing in the playoffs.
And then switching over a little bit, then you have Reedy versus Centennial. Now, Reedy has really surprised everyone this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're a 2-year varsity program. They don't even have any seniors yet in this program.
No graduates. This is their first seniors, right?
Yeah, so no graduates. What is it that they need to do to continue the success, obviously against Centennial, but leading in? Because if they run the table or if they continue playing the way they do, they could make it to the playoffs as well.
Oh yeah, I think they are nearly a lock for the playoffs. And certainly if they win this game this week, I don't want to be jinxing anybody, but I mean they'd be 4-0 in district, and with at least one more win that looks like they'll for sure get. I think they are definitely a playoff team. And I think for them, they just have to keep executing the way they have. I mean, we're talking about a team that is 6-0. 6 games into the season, they have 1 turnover.
One turnover
the whole season.
The entire season?
They lost a fumble in 1 game. Their quarterback's thrown like 18 touchdown passes and has not thrown an interception. I mean, Josh Foskey.
What's it going to be like when these two front runners match up at some point?
Well, Reedy's going to get upset by this because they'll say that, I doubted him before, and I did. They're a second-year varsity program.
And some rightfully so. I mean, you guys have really outperformed expectations. There it is. In some ways, I can compare Reedy to, let's say, a TCU.
Mm-hmm.
You have way outshot what should be going on with a 2-year varsity program.
Right.
You really have, and that's not a shot at you. When someone says you shouldn't make doubting you at the beginning of the year, it's not because you're not talented.
Right.
It's because no one does that.
Right. Well, because they are proving to be a trailblazer, because we just do not have very many second-year programs that make the playoffs, let alone go 6-0 at the start and are challenging for a district title.
In some ways, they remind me of the Arizona Diamondbacks, where 3 years into their being in their very existence, they win a World Series.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Listen, look at.
And they can't sign free agents.
Yeah, look at it's sort of like Boston. Boston went almost 100 years without winning a championship.
Right.
This stuff doesn't happen, and it's really impressive. So when these two match up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen? Because obviously their styles have got to be a little bit different.
Well, they are a little bit different. I think that Lone Star is more of a smash mouth team. They're very physical. Their defense is great. They can stop people on the run, and their offense is very balanced. But it's predicated on we're going to establish the run first. I think Reedy, I mentioned their quarterback Josh Foskey has been fantastic. Although they have a really good running back Justin Gibson as well. I think they're a little more wide open. They want to throw the ball a little more, and they're going to score that way.
A little more West Coast?
A little more West Coast, a little more Pac-12, whatever you want to call it. So when they match up, I definitely think Lone Star would be the favorite, but Reedy's got, if you want to use the cliche of a puncher's chance, because they're going to score. And if they can do that on Lone Star, put up 28 points or something like that, and then their defense can do a good job, is going to have to step up against that tough running game. That's in a couple weeks. I think it'll be a great game.
Are the tempos of these two teams different? I mean, usually more West Coast offenses are a little bit faster. They try to get up to the line and quicker and get it off down the field a lot faster, where smash mouth teams try to grind it out.
Actually, Lone Star, they like some tempo too, and I think because it can wear out an opponent. They can do it both ways.
So they don't let them get a breather.
Right. And so, they're like, if we want to bring in yet another power from the area, like Allen. People think about Allen. Well, they can smash mouth you, but they're rushing you along. You're just exhausted. You're falling down. That's a 6A team, by the way, if people didn't know. The Frisco schools will not play them. But
obviously, they have a 6A stadium too. So.
Yeah, it's enormous, and it's crazy. But Lone Star, I think, getting back a little bit to what they can do in the playoffs, I think they really are built for a very good playoff run. It comes down to matchups a lot of times when you get in the playoffs and how you execute again in those matchups. But I think they're balanced enough that there's not like a big, fearsome, physical team that's going to knock them off the ball that way. There's not somebody who's going to have so much speed that they can't keep up with. A lot of different ways to do it. I think they've got a chance in every game in the playoffs.
The only fear that a team like Lone Star has, a physical team on both offense and defense, is grinding yourself down.
Right.
Physicality comes at a cost. So is this team, does it have good depth?
Yeah, actually, Jeff Rayburn told me at the start of the season he thinks this is the deepest team he's ever had. So I mean, the answer, that's pretty good depth, because they were pretty good. They were pretty deep 2 years ago.
And he's a smart coach, so it sounds like he's probably rotating a lot of these players out so they don't get worn out by the end of the year.
And I think, I think the big thing with them, with their balance, is they can beat you in different ways. Their quarterback and their running back and their good offensive line and good receivers, that they can, if you're going to try to take away something, they can go another way and do it.
So how do you see, just finalizing that thought, what do you see those two when they finally do match up with each other? Do you think Lone Star will still just run them over, or do you think it'll be...
No, I don't think they'll run them over, but I think my pick right now would be Lone Star, maybe by a couple touchdowns. But when you say 2 touchdowns, like a 14-point spread sounds enormous in high school. I mean, in like an NFL or a college wagering. It's not in high school, no, because I think things could definitely go one way or another. And Reedy is talented enough and confident enough, and the way they're not playing like that young program, that they can win that game.
So, aside from those 2 matchups, what else do you see going on in the district?
Well, I think for this week, there's a really big game with Reedy and Centennial. That of course, the Lone Star and Reedy game would be November 3rd, I believe, so we're a couple weeks away. I think this is a huge chance for Centennial this week, because they're playing Reedy.
To upset.
To upset. I pick Reedy to win this game, but I think of it as a huge chance for Centennial in the sense that they're now 3-0 in district. They've had some really tough games. They beat Wakeland 69-66 in overtime last week. Excuse me, in a crazy game. But coming off of that, if they can beat another team that is headed for the playoffs, Reedy, then Centennial can be, not only is a huge bolster for their confidence, they'd be 4-0 in district and a virtual lock to make the playoffs.
That's incredible. And moving into next week, we will be back with Matt Wixon. We love having you here. It's great to be able to get a glimpse into the Frisco Independent School District football at a level that most people aren't able to see. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.